If you're looking to buy a stacked NBA 2K account with max badges and more, visit sportstmb.com. He has been in the community for years and has hundreds of reviews. Click the first link in the description to get your account today.
Young players are my favorite thing to talk about in the NBA, so much so that I am less interested in already established players. Talking about player potential is really exciting to me despite how often I am wrong. For example, thinking that Mo Bamba would be a better player than Luka Doncic and Trae Young, or thinking that Kevin Knox would be Rookie of the Year. I luckily never thought that Kyle Kuzma was going to be a superstar player. I was never that crazy. I did call Landry Shamet being a steal from his draft class as well as someone else who is going to be in this video. When you ask people who the best young players in the NBA are, you typically expect names like Luka and Trae, Brandon Ingram, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant, Karl Anthony Towns. And you're right to think of those guys, but there are a handful of players in the NBA that are young and I feel are pretty underrated, and I wanted to talk about 5 of those said players. So here are the 5 most underrated young players in the NBA. The first guy I want to talk about is Josh Hart. After being selected in the second round in the 2017 draft, he showed a lot of promise for the Lakers as a 3-and-D guard. Shooting nearly 40% from downtown on 3 attempts a game, he also showed signs as a defender. The following year, the Lakers signed LeBron James, and Hart regressed. Shot poorly from the field and from 3 when it was hoped that he would fit right into the mold of the shooters next to LeBron scheme. And then Lakers fans, who are ruthless, as I learned 3 videos ago, said that Hart was basically better at Fortnite than basketball. But since being traded to the New Orleans Pelicans, he has been fantastic. He's averaging a career-high 12 points, having the best 3-point shooting season of his career, hitting 38.6% of his shots from downtown on 6 attempts a game. He's also grabbing a career-high 6.6 rebounds a game. So a change of scenery has really made a huge difference for this guy, and he is really fitting into that mold of a Danny Green type of player. Next up, we have a guy that I've been trying to find an excuse to talk about for the longest time. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite players in the NBA, and luckily he also happens to be on my Chicago Bulls, and that player is Wendell Carter Jr. Now, I'll be honest, I really didn't think too highly of Wendell as most Bulls fans did last year. I thought he could be a poor man's Horford before he was drafted, then after his rookie year I was like, okay, this guy can be as good as Al Horford. And now, after the start that he is having so far, I think he can maybe even be a bit better than that. He's averaging nearly 12 and 10 on 56% shooting, which is a decent jump from his 10 and 7 on 48% shooting. But the number increase only partially tells the story. Wendell is a great defender, and on a team with Thaddeus Young and Chris Dunn on it, as a second-year player, Wendell is the best defender on this Bulls roster. He has also been a really good rebounder, grabbing 10 a game, and his vision has been fantastic. But the problem is the Bulls, and specifically the big dumbass moron fucking idiot who I hope steps on a Lego, Jim Boylan, have not realized this vision. They don't utilize it to its full capacity. He averaged 1.8 assists a game last year, which was 3 a game per 36. This year though, Wendell has been misutilized offensively, pretty much just being a pick and roll man with the occasional mid-range jumper, which is a tragedy because he could really help the Bulls offense with his vision. Another problem with Wendell is he gets called for the most bullshit foul calls of maybe even any player that I've ever seen. Another problem with Wendell is he gets called for the most bullshit foul calls of maybe any player that I've ever seen. People say Carter has a foul problem, but if you watch the games, he does not have a foul problem. He has a bullshit being called on him problem. He has also shown signs of being a decent post threat, so with him having the vision, good mid-range jumper, post ability, and good finishing inside, I think he has the tools to be a 17 and 12 guy with great defense and 4 or so assists a game. I say great defense because defense is the best part of the Wendell Carter Jr. package. Wendell, though undersized, could really fool value with that because he plays really big, plays physically but still smartly inside, and he has the foot speed on the perimeter to keep up with guards. And he has a phenomenal defensive IQ. Now, I don't know if that quite equals Defensive Player of the Year, but I definitely think he will make for a damn good defender. Next up, we have Devontae Graham. When I said I predicted another player to be a steal late in that draft, I was talking about Graham. Now, I'm sure you are probably thinking, this guy has gotten a lot of praise, how the hell is he underrated? Well, to put it simply, the hype has not been as crazy as it should be. Because not only do I think Graham has the potential to be a star or an all-star, I think he has the potential to be a superstar. Does he get there? Probably not, because he is 24 and development doesn't usually go that crazy from 24 to 27, but still, the potential is there. I don't think people realize how valuable a point guard with his shooting ability and vision is in the NBA. Those are the two most important things with point guards in the modern NBA, and Graham gets an A+ in both of those categories. He is averaging 19 points per game as well as 7.7 assists, doing so shooting 41% from the field and 41% from 3 on 8.3 attempts a game. And he has a 57% true shooting percentage. Dude is only 24, so the ceiling for him is not capped yet, though I did say it's probably not going to reach superstar potential, but he is very good, and I kind of view him as someone who's going to be a poor man's Trae Young. He can do what Trae does, just not quite on the level of ridiculousness that Trae can, but either way, he is going to be a very good player. Ironically, probably a better player than Kemba Walker. Next up, we have Kelly Oubre, this beautifully good basketball player. That was close. Kelly Oubre has not gotten his fair share of credit for how much better the Phoenix Suns have been. He is getting a career high in nearly every single category. He's averaging 18 points per game, shooting 46% from the field and 34% from 3. Kelly has never been a great three-point shooter, but he's definitely serviceable. He is great in transition because he's really athletic and a good finisher. He's strong, fast, he has a good handle, he's pretty, good at defense. He is a good finisher at the basket, really doesn't disrupt the offense in any way. He can play both forward spots, really a perfect plug and play guy. But before I get to the last guy, I wanted to do some honorable mentions. The first two guys here I could not mention because even though I think they're really underrated, they don't really qualify as young. Those guys are Daniel House and Richaun Holmes. House is 26 years old, as is Richaun Holmes, and that's really when you stop qualifying as young in the NBA. That's really your prime. But Daniel House is one of the best 3-and-D forwards in the NBA, and he is not getting the credit for it that he deserves. He can play both forward positions. He is shooting 45% from 3 on 6 attempts a game. He's a real difference maker for the Rockets, and Holmes is someone that I have said is underrated for the longest time. He is a very similar player to Taj Gibson, rim-running big man that is really athletic and grabs a lot of rebounds. This year, in a starting role for the Sacramento Kings, he's averaging 11 and 8 with 1.5 blocks a game, and he's doing so shooting 66%. So he's been damn good. But both of those guys are in their primes, not young. Then for some actual young guys, in the minimal play time that he's gotten, because Jim Boylen is a fucking idiot, Daniel Gafford has been very good as a backup center, and he looks like he can be a great backup down the line. He's averaging 4 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 block on 71% shooting in just 10 minutes a game, which would be 14, 6, and 3 per 36. He's also averaging more offensive rebounds than defensive ones, which is a sign of a smart and talented rebounder. I also wanted to mention Bam Adebayo, though I think most people are pretty aware of how good the guy is. I don't think they're aware of the fact that he is averaging 4 assists per game. He's been making a lot of great plays out of the high post for the Miami Heat, finding shooters and cutters, and it's made him almost as good of an offensive player as he is a defensive player, which is saying a lot. Monte Morris is one of the best backup point guards in the NBA at just 24 years old, and Luke Kennard is having a career year so far. So much so that he probably deserves a slot in this video, but don't worry Pistons fans, number 5 is a Piston. Luke is averaging 16 points and 4 assists while also shooting 40% from downtown, being the ball-handling JJ Redick type of player that he's supposed to be. But like I said, number 5 is a Detroit Pistons player, and that is Christian Wood. Last year, in a brief 8-game stint with the New Orleans Pelicans, Wood put up 17, 8, and 1.3 blocks while shooting 53% from the field and showing some potential from 3, and he did that in just 20 minutes a game, which was 25 and 12 per 36. After that happened, I was surprised that the Pelicans did not re-sign him, but the Pistons gave him a shot and he's been killing it. He is averaging 9 points and 4.5 rebounds as well as 1 block in just 15 minutes a game. He is shooting 62% from the field and shooting 45% from 3 on 1.5 attempts a game. Per 36, he is averaging 21, 11, and 2 blocks. And he is just 24 years old. Given a chance to start, I think he could be a very good player in the NBA. And I'm talking like 18 and 10 good. He's also a pretty solid defensive player, and recently in a game against the Spurs, he had 28 and 10 on 11 for 14 shooting. Oh, and on a team that has an 8 and 14 record, he and Andre Drummond are the only players on this team with a positive net rating. Christian Wood is seriously the most underrated young player in the NBA, and if I were the Detroit Pistons, I would view him as a building block for their upcoming rebuild, because it's gonna happen. Consider me the first non-Pistons fan on the Christian Wood hype train. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.